What's going on YouTube? So when Acura revived the Integra nameplate, we had a feeling that it would become an important part of their lineup. And indeed, it has become one of the brand's best sellers. Now for 2026, it's getting refreshed with updated tech, styling, and more. So is this the entry-level luxury sedan that you should buy for about $33,000? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's get things started here with a quick spec dump. So besides for the high-performance Type S model, all Integras will come with a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, making 200 horsepower. That's paired to either a 6-speed manual or a continuously variable transmission, and combined fuel economy is 32 mpg.
Now the base price for 2026 is about $33,400, and if you're looking to buy an Integra or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now later on in this review, we will be taking this model out for a spin as well as getting things like our sound level reading.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so that we can get into the refreshed elements with the exterior as well as the inside. So as soon as you walk up to the 2026 Integra, you'll be able to tell this is the refreshed model, at least if you choose two different colors. You can choose this double Apex Pearl, or you can also get Performance Red, and that's where you'll get this brand new color matched grille. So if you're noticing what looks different up here in the front, that is what you have noticed. Now, if you get any of the other colors, it's going to remain a traditional black grille. So this is kind of something that you can pick and choose what you prefer. But I do think this looks pretty sharp and stands out. Now, as far as the actual design elements themselves, the grille itself is going to be the same. It's that frameless design, which the Integra was the first in the Acura lineup to get. Also, as we pan over to the headlights, you're going to notice those signature LEDs, the jewel eye design with the crystals. It is a projector LED, and you also have your daytime running light and turn signal indicator through there. Integra is right underneath of the headlight, and then if you choose an A-Spec model, you're also going to get LED fog lights down here. Now, one thing I want to mention now that I'm kind of squatted down here is that furthermore, you get a new body kit for 2026 on the A-Spec models, which just gives this a little bit more of a planted and sporty design. Next up, we have our wheels. You get a 17-inch alloy on your base trim level, and then both of your A-Spec models come with 18-inch gloss black alloys. This is a new gloss black finish for 2026, and I think it looks fantastic with the paint color. Now, of course, you have A-Spec branding up there, and as far as our mirrors are concerned, all models will have standard heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now here at the side of this refreshed Integra, your overall length will still be 185.8 inches for this year, and as far as any special design elements, all of your A-Spec models will have gloss black window trim, which I think looks pretty nice, and you do have some new colors in addition to this double Apex Blue. You will also have the addition of Urban Gray and Solar Silver for 2026. But let's go ahead and continue around to the rear where you see this classic Integra lift-back design that was debuted with this all-new model. And as far as design elements back here, there's not going to be anything significantly new for this refresh. You still have the sloping rear window that fits into the gloss black rear spoiler for your A-Spec models. All of your branding will be silver as stock though, but you do still have these really nice LED taillights. All of your elements will be LED. That includes things like your turn signal indicator and your reverse light. Down here at the bottom of your bumper, you do have dual exposed exhaust outlets here on this model, and as in the front, you still have Integra stamped into the rear. As far as your safety systems are concerned, you will have all of your major active safety features as standard equipment here on the Integra. And then if you choose the tech model that we have here today, you will get things such as low-speed braking control as well as front and rear parking sensors. But there are some refresh changes to check out on the interior as well, so let's dive into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's check out the interior. First, here's our key fob. You have a standard smart entry system with the latest fob on all models. You also get remote start, but only if you get the CVT model. Now getting inside, just grab behind the handle. That will unlock the door. And then let's check out the cabin. There's no huge design changes, but there's plenty of different details I'm going to point out through the interior. The first place we need to start with, though, are the seats. So your base and your A-Spec get a leatherette trimmed seat, and then you get a leatherette and suede insert seat when you get the A-Spec with the technology package. Now this has 3 different color choices. You can get black, white, or red, but if you choose this white color here, you get this new blue insert in the seat itself. I think this looks quite nice and really matches, with the exterior color and gives the interior a little bit of pizzazz. Now, as far as the seat adjustments, you'll always have a power adjusting seat. However, A-Spec with technology gets 4-way lumbar support instead. And let's go ahead and climb inside. When you close up the door, you get a little animation there on the display that greets you. And let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. So over here on the door trim, we have more of the orchid leatherette. This has stitching detail and through the center section as well. Soft touch plastic along the top. As we move to the upper dashboard, we have more soft touch plastic. And then here in the center section, this is something new I want to point out. They have changed this to a new trim. It basically looks more like aluminum than before and gives it a more premium vibe overall. You have padded leatherette, that runs through here. Although down here on the lower part, it is not going to be padded. And then the center section will be covered in a gloss black. Now we'll fire it up with the push button start, which does have a nice metal button. Now as far as individual features, we'll start with the gauge cluster. As always, we've got a 10-inch gauge cluster. This is standard on all Integras. You have a little bit of things that you can reconfigure over here on the side. And more important than that, though, is the fact that we have a head-up display. This is included on the A-Spec Tech. So that's one of the big reasons why you might choose that. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the Acura design here, leatherette wrapped with the double stitching detail and A-Spec branding on board. With the technology group, you also get rain sensing wipers. The wheel itself will always be manual tilt and telescoping, and steering wheel heating is not technically offered, but you can add it at the dealer level. Now, let's take a look at our interior storage next. Inside of our center console here, you're going to see some donuts inside. That is, of course, because we like to do the Car Confections donut test. And inside of here today, we have 7 donuts, which is okay for a vehicle of this size category. Of course, the overall storage configuration of this model is very similar to the Civic, so you get those nice deep cup holders. And up here in the front, you have a nice storage area, which new for 2026 will always contain this wireless phone charging pad, even on the base trim. Now, as far as the shifter is concerned, it's just a traditional style one. Pull back for sport mode. You can also shift with the paddle shifters up here for some shift simulation. And then when we go into reverse, here is our standard backup camera. You'll see this across the lineup. It has active trajectory and a few different views that you can choose between. Next to that, you have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold, and you have your drive mode controller with the special in-visual mode. Now as we carry on to the center section, again, there are certain elements in here that are very similar to the Honda Civic right here with the climate controls. That will be one of those elements. It's a dual zone automatic setup for the A-Spec technology, meaning you can just adjust that temperature up and down nice and easily through there. You'll also find standard 3-stage heated seats on every single trim. No seat ventilation, though, is offered. Now, this vehicle has a lot of analog controls, including a traditional volume knob. Now, there's 2 different sound systems. You have an 8-speaker unbranded sound system for your base model and your A-Spec, and then the A-Spec technology upgrades that a lot. It takes you to an ELS 16-speaker sound system, and let's go ahead and sample that right now. Very nice, yeah. So overall, this is a really nice sounding sound system. That's a lot of speakers for a relatively small cabin. You have them in places like right above your head, and overall, it just has a very full sound to it. All right, let's zero in with our technology here, because this is a place where we see an improvement for 2026. That's the fact that you now have a 9-inch display as standard equipment on all trim levels. And as you can see, this has the typical kind of Honda Acura software, but the thing I want to point out is that you don't actually have Google built in. I don't really know why that's the case, but as you might know, the Civic can get Google built in on its top trim, but you cannot get that here on the Integra. So I'm definitely a little disappointed by that, but you do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto still. Rising above, we've got a frameless auto-dimming mirror. No HomeLink remotes though. And then all of the Integras, besides for the Performance Type S, will come with a standard size sunroof.
Now let's check out the back seats here in the Integra. As far as your measurements go, you'll be sitting at 37.4 inches of legroom and 36.4 inches of headroom. While the legroom is pretty good, the headroom is definitely lacking for someone 5'9" like myself. My head doesn't even hit the headrest. I'd have to do that in order to lay my head on it. And these seats do not recline, though they are pretty comfortable overall. I will get out the official Car Confections ruler, though, and get my realistic knee room figure behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. I'm still sitting at 7 inches, which is pretty dang good, and my feet can also slide up underneath the seat in front of me. Now, did this refresh add any new features for the Integra? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. So back here, you're not going to have any vents. The tech model will add USBs, and then you're not going to have anything like heated rear seats or anything like that. You do have a fold-down center armrest with 2 large cup holders inside. And let's check out the door trim. It's going to be mostly hard-touch plastic, unfortunately, from the top through the armrest area, although you do have a leatherette pad to rest your arm, as well as some more leatherette through the center, and a little bit of bottle storage down at the bottom. Now let's check out the hatch. Not only does it make it look better, in my opinion, it certainly adds a lot of practicality as well. So when we pop that open, you will be greeted by 24.3 cubic feet of space, behind the seats there, which is already more than a lot of its sedan rivals, things like the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe, things like that. And then you get to expand it even more, just like so, which most people could do. It's a little bit hard, but you expand that to even more space. Now, Acura doesn't give us a figure for this, but I'd estimate close to the 50 cubic feet mark, even more than that potentially, which, then you can potentially cross-shop this with things like a subcompact crossover, which is pretty nice if you like having some fun behind the wheel as well. If you are interested in cross-shopping this with any of our major vehicle segments, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. On there, we've gone through many different segments throughout the market and ranked them in categories that matter most to you, the buyer, including things like cargo capacity and driving experience. So if you'd like to check that out, be sure to check out carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now back to the Integra here. Let's go ahead and grab our length, width, and height measurements. With these seats all the way down behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, I'll try and keep it as straight as I can. We'll be sitting at about, 72 inches or 6 feet of space behind that seat. Behind the second row here, or the seats, there's no third row, there's about 37 inches of length. And if I can get my tape measure to work with me here, the width is about 40 inches. And I'll try and get a best estimate for your height at its maximum. You'll be sitting around 26 inches, which will be less than things like a crossover. And then as far as your load-in height as well, unfortunately it is a little bit tall. You'll be sitting at about overall 31 inches, which is about the same as a crossover as well. Now, as far as any other features back here, you do have some little side cubbies, and beneath the floor, you will not find a spare tire. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Acura Integra. In this test drive, we'll be covering quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, as well as getting things like our sound level reading. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. All right, that was 60 miles per hour with this
Integra. So, like we mentioned at the beginning, there's two very distinct ways that you can get the Integra. You have, all of your main trims with the 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that we have today. That's got 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. Or you can, of course, go all the way in and get the Type S, which has a lot more power and really is a distinctly different machine. We're focused today on the ones that the vast majority of people choose, which is the standard setup. Now, overall acceleration is fine. This is not going to be a super quick vehicle, but also it's not that large, and 200 horsepower is enough.
Yeah, overall it's pretty zippy, and by the way, if you are interested in checking out a dedicated review on the Type S model, we do have one on the channel as well. That doesn't really get any of the refresh updates yet, though we're hoping to maybe see some this year since they kind of stagger the model years on those as far as rolling those models out.
Now, as I'm sure you have noticed by my lack of involvement, as far as the transmission is concerned, we have the continuously variable transmission, the automatic option. This is what the vast majority of people buying the Integra end up with, but as we mentioned earlier, you can get a 6-speed manual transmission with the A-Spec technology. That's no additional charge, and if you're an enthusiast, highly would recommend that, but obviously there's a lot of people that have no interest in rowing their own.
Now keep in mind the Integra lineup will be front-wheel drive only, and on those manual-equipped models you do get a limited slip diff.
I popped it into sport mode there for another acceleration. Do be aware if you don't floor it completely, you're not going to get any type of shift simulation.
It certainly does amp up the sound amplification, though. It kind of has a cooler, sportier sound to it. But unfortunately, I have to pop us back into normal mode. I do need to go ahead and get our sound level reading when Drew is going 55 miles an hour, and we do have it set to fan speed 1. We will settle in at 56.2 decibels for this 26 Integra, and I don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to all of its rivals. I'll go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. And that sound level reading manages to keep this model as the reigning segment champ as far as being the quietest within this segment. It was already one of the quietest, and this refresh continues to reiterate that this year.
Now, we don't have a lot of curvy roads along our route today, but I do want to get into the overall dynamics and handling of this model because it's certainly a highlight, and I think a big reason why a lot of people buy the Integra. It has a very agile feel. The suspension is nice and tight, especially if you choose the A-Spec technology, because that's going to get you adaptive dampers. So when you pop it into sport mode, everything can kind of firm up a little bit more and give you that really nice agile feel. The steering is also extremely responsive, and it's just kind of that typical Honda Acura feel. You get that high level of performance from the performance models trickling down even into models like this, which aren't necessarily high performance, but you can still feel a little bit of that connection to the Type S.
Yeah, this model really makes me want to go take it down a back road today, but unfortunately that's not in the cards, but we can still talk about things such as your ride quality as well. The adaptive dampers definitely help there when it comes to smoothing out all of these bumps. This is definitely more of a rougher road, and even in sport mode it's pretty dang comfortable, and then I can pop it back into normal or comfort mode as well, and that helps lighten things up even more. It does a good job at soaking up all of the road imperfections, and overall it pairs pretty nicely with these overall fairly comfortable seats as well. And as Drew mentioned earlier, exclusive to this tech model is the individual drive mode. It can help you do things like put sport steering with comfort suspension and customize your ride even more. I also want to mention fuel economy. Your CVT models will be rated at 32 mpg combined, and then for the manual will be sitting at 30 mpg combined for that model, so just a 2 mpg loss for having a little bit more of that dynamic driving experience. Of course, one thing that they did not add for this refresh this year is the Honda Civic's hybrid system. That's really something we are missing out on for this year.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that is today's airball, because we spent a lot of time with the Civic, and the hybrid system really is a highlight. It's absolutely fantastic in its overall execution, great power, great fuel economy. This could have benefited from that. You know, it's never a bad thing to have, you know, basically the same power, a little bit more power, plus better fuel economy. I think Integra really should add that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And on the slam dunk side of things, we're just going to say the refresh changes for this year just help improve this model even more. Some additional standard features is always welcome, and then you continue to keep that overall good value proposition when it comes to other luxury subcompact sedans as well. Now let's talk pricing for this refreshed Integra. You can see the full lineup of pricing on the screen right now, but your base model will be starting at about $33,400. Now, if you choose this top trim A-Spec Tech like we have today, you'll be starting at around $39,200. No penalty for choosing the manual, by the way, when it comes to price. And then when you add things like the $600 paint that we have and $1,195 destination, overall you'll be sitting at an overall price of about $41,000. Now, as far as increases for the refresh this year, it's going to be at minimum $1,000, closer to $2,000 when you choose this tech model as far as compared to 2025 models. If you're concerned as to where this is made, it is made in Marysville, Ohio. And if you're looking to buy an Integra or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. On there, you can get access to things such as invoice pricing, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. You can also access things such as a monthly payment tool as well. If you'd like to check that out, we have a link in the video description as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a car is more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. Let's start with resale value. After 5 years and 60,000 miles, this Integra will be worth about 49.9% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, about 21% of MSRP. Now, that's worth noting. That's pretty on par with industry average overall, and that is going to be better than things such as Mercedes, BMW, and Audi.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. With the latest data, Acura is rated above the industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to check out all of our resale and reliability data, as well as our methodology, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making the proper research when it comes to cross-shopping different vehicle makes. Also, when it comes to your warranty, will be covered by Acura's 4-year and 50,000-mile basic warranty, a 6-year 70,000-mile powertrain warranty, and 1 year and 12,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed this in-depth review of the 2026 Acura Integra. If you enjoyed getting to see all of these refresh changes, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe down below. When you do that, that helps us get access to all of these vehicles as early as possible to show you guys. And if you are a continued fan and subscriber of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.